What's happening, people? I actually clicked the intro. I ended the intro a bit too quickly, guys. I ended it a bit too quickly, but big up to everyone that's locked in on this wonderful, I'm going to say Tuesday, on this wonderful Tuesday afternoon. We have a lot to talk about. Guys, we've got a lot to talk about. Today is a bit more of an interactive stream. And when I say interactive, I don't mean like it's a call in, but I mean so that I want everyone to get involved in the comments because we're going to be rating and we're going to be discussing the fullback choices that Manchester United are currently going through, but most importantly, which I think is the most important part right now, the midfield choices that Manchester United have. Now, of course, Manchester United are yet to officially move for any of the midfielders that they've been linked to thus far, but there are quite a few midfielders that Manchester United are linked to. Now, it's similar with the defensive situation or the centre-back situation where they were linked to multiple centre-backs at once. So it'll be really interesting to see who they end up going with. But there is some, I wouldn't say breaking news, but there is some news surrounding Ugarte, surrounding Yusuf Fofana, surrounding Zubamendi, surrounding Amrabat. So we're going to talk about all of that. Of course, we're going to talk about the defensive one. More links to Ivan Toney. Reportedly, Manchester United are intrigued and interested by him. Now, if you lot don't know, the Athletic drop like a transfer sheet every week where they kind of break down news about all of the top 6 clubs and then any other additional news of ins and outs in the Premier League. And that's where it was mentioned about Ivan Toney. It was mentioned the week before, and it was mentioned as one to watch. One to watch because Brentford don't really have to sell Ivan Toney. If the right price comes, they will consider to sell him. And Manchester United probably might want another striker after they go and get another centre-back and get another midfielder, etc., etc. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Mazraoui links because, of course, it broke yesterday whilst we were live on air that Manchester United were looking at a move for Mazraoui, and I did say that I did think that it was going to be like a three-way thing where Bissaka goes to West Ham, Man United get Mazraoui from Bayern Munich, etc. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to kind of discuss who's the better option. Is it smart to let Wan-Bissaka go? What's the price tag that you guys feel would be a reasonable one for Aaron Wan-Bissaka? For 15 million, 20 million, is Mazraoui a bad move? Can Manchester United get Mazraoui and De Ligt for 50, 55 million? There's a lot of questions. But big up to everyone locked in. Listen, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. You guys know the vibe. We're here every day live, talking all things Manchester United. And let's get into it. But before we actually get into it, I want to start with something that is not really transfer related, but it is some interesting. I'm saying it's some interesting information. It is. We're going to talk about David De Gea. There's an article out by The Athletic about David De Gea still without a club. It's officially 400, I think, and 16 days apparently since he's departed Manchester United. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is not to talk about Man United possibly bringing David De Gea back, because I don't think that's the case, but it's more so to talk about what the article discusses regarding how he felt he was hard done by Manchester United. And I guess that is the most important part when it comes to the change in structure. You look at how the previous hierarchy used to operate. I'm talking about the Murtos, the Arnolds, etc. And you realize how poor he was. You realize how poor they were, if you want to say that. And you're probably thinking, what am I talking about? Well, in the article, it's stated about David De Gea. Now, of course, like I said, he's still clubless. David De Gea is still clubless, but it's apparently he's set to announce a new club that he's joining this week. Now, he's had a lot of change, it looks like, in his personal life. And when I say personal life, I mean not the fact that he got married, etc., but he's had a lot of change. The fact that he's changed agents, which kind of slowed down the opportunity, I guess, of him getting a new role or joining a new club. He's had multiple offers last summer. Apparently, that was just not right for him. He's had more offers this summer as well, which he's set to make his decision. But according to sources close to the situation, and this is straight from The Athletic, David De Gea considered retiring. David De Gea considered retiring after leaving Manchester United. Now, I don't know if that suggests that he was just in a bad place, that he thought his career was over. Now, the biggest takeaway for me from this piece is that reportedly David De Gea was upset with those he felt were responsible for his departure, Erik ten Hag and John Murtough. And he even told people within his close circle that he would be happy to return to Manchester United if these two were no longer there. Now, of course, I think that's a long shot. I don't see him coming back. But can I just say that you look at the deal that Manchester United managed to get for Mason Greenwood, and you're probably thinking, Mina, what is the correlation between Mason Greenwood and David Hay? The correlation is John Murtough. John Murtough, Richard Arnold, all of them guys, previous regime, put a clause, yeah, in Mason Greenwood's deal to Getafe last season that they get 20% if Man United sell him. Have you ever seen a negotiation tactic? I understand Manchester United were desperate to get Mason Greenwood out of the club at the time, but have you ever seen a negotiation tactic where the club who loans a player for a year gets 20% of his sell-on fee? I've never seen that in my entire life, and I'm not joking, guys. I've actually never seen that. And the reason why I'm actually referencing that is because I feel like people don't really deep how poor Manchester United was run by people like Murtough, by Arnold. And of course, now that Manchester United are probably, they're on this new path, and I don't want to dwell on it too much. Getafe got 20%, and I think that's why also Manchester United were quite keen on getting a big sell-on percentage. I think that's also another thing. Now, of course, like I said, maybe Man United were also desperate to part ways with Mason Greenwood last summer, and it was, by any means necessary. But now I kind of understand David De Gea feeling like he was hard done by the previous regime, because if you lot remember, he had a contract on the table, and then it got revoked out of nowhere, even though apparently they had agreed terms. And then they found themselves back at square one, waiting for his contract to finish, to kind of die down. And then they ended up letting him leave. It kind of, at that point, it is what it is. It's very unfortunate for me, in my opinion. It's very unfortunate. You let bygones be bygones, all of that kind of stuff. But I still understand where David De Gea is coming from. Now, I don't know where he's going to end up. I wish him all the best. He's still got a number of years in him. I mean, the fact that he barely played international football in the latter stages of his career kind of says a lot. But I still think he's able to go and play football somewhere. Still can't believe Getafe is profiting from our player. It's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. When I read the article, guys, I couldn't believe it. Thank God that they are gone. I know it's quite outrageous. But anyway, I thought we could start with that, because obviously it's the only, I would say, non-Manchester United-ish stuff relating to kind of news from today. Now, before we get into the ins and outs, because we're going to talk about a shout out to United's people for this wonderful edit. This is a nice edit to kind of visualize what Manchester United. This is our Mount Rushmore this season. This is our Mount Rushmore defensively. And I know you lot are probably thinking this is no Mount Rushmore, but this is the perfect opportunity to actually discuss the fullback situation at Manchester United. Now, in the title, it says Mazraoui or Wan-Bissaka. We've been linked to other fullbacks. We've been linked to Vanderson. We've been linked to Frimpong. We've also been linked to Kadioglu. But I think the most cemented information that we've seen regarding fullbacks is probably Nazir Mazraoui. I think that is the most cemented one. Now, him and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, I think, are two completely different profiles. I think they are two completely different profiles in fullbacks. But it does look like Manchester United are going down a path that they want players to have multiple skill sets and attributes that can benefit the team defensively and offensively. Now, I don't know why, given the injury record and his fitness, that when we talk about Manchester United starting back four, Luke Shaw is in the conversation. Now, I think Luke Shaw is technically one of, like, on a technical level, he's one of the most technically gifted players at Manchester United. Like, that's no secret. And it's no secret that, during the Euros, England looked a lot better when Luke Shaw was playing. But however, this is a player that has been struggling with injury over the course of his 10-year career. And of course, we have these conversations. Luke Shaw does better when he's got competition. Yes, of course. But I think it's time to accept that sometimes it's time for people's careers at the club to come to an end. And when I see the discussions about a starting back four or back five, including Onana, Luke Shaw is always in the conversation. Now, I'm not surprised that we're being linked to a fullback, and I'm not surprised we're being linked to a fullback that can play across both sides, right and left. Now, I think what Manchester United could be looking for now, especially with the kind of players that we go for or have been going for, is people that are, I was going to say translucent, not translucent. That don't even make sense. People that are flexible, people that can play across multiple positions. You look at Joshua Zirkzee. He's not a 9. He's not an out-and-out 9. He can play across the front line. He can play across the front line. You look at, for example, Jared Brantwaite. He's not only a left-sided centre-back, he can play on the right side too. That's another player that Manchester United is linked to. You look at, again, Nazir Mazraoui. He plays right-back and left-back. He's actually been playing across both sides for Ajax, for Bayern Munich. I think it's only really for Morocco that he plays at left-back because Achraf Hakimi is the starting right-back. Now, this starting four, for me, it's not a threatening starting four. It's not threatening enough. When I think about the kind of players that Manchester United should be going for, or the kind of players that Manchester United are linked to, I know a lot of people talk about this idea about Man United continuously being linked to previous players of the manager or players that are Dutch or have played in the Netherlands, right? If they're a good player, guys, I don't care. I don't care. And I don't know if some of you guys also agree with me or share a similar sentiment in that point. Nazir Mazraoui, for me, would be a good signing because he's affordable. He's affordable. Bayern Munich reportedly want 20 to 25, but could take 15. So if United were to get him for 20 million euros, that's about 17 million pounds. I think that's reasonable. Now, the idea of selling Aaron Wan-Bissaka for me is a daunting one because in one kind of mindset, I like Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I think he's a good defender. I feel like he's one of them players that has the fundamentals of his role down to a T. And that's useful. However, we talk about the evolution of football. We talk about the evolution of football and just how teams play now with defenders more involved in build-up. So you have to have certain skill sets. And that's why I said I feel like Man United are going down a path where they're going for players that have multiple attributes and skill sets that the team can benefit from, i.e. the ability to play in multiple different positions. He's affordable. He's cheap. He's affordable. You know, the only thing I have a worry with him, yeah, and I was going to say, I think this has been discussed we discussed it yesterday very, very briefly on stream, was Nazir Mazraoui's injury record. Now, if we were to compare the two, and this is the thing is, at what point in someone's career do you deem someone as injury prone? Because a lot of the time when we've been talking about players during the transfer window, this topic of injury prone always kind of comes up. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is never deemed injury prone. No one, when we talk about Aaron Wan-Bissaka, people talk about how he looks awkward going forward on the ball, etc. No one talks about fitness. But if we were to talk about fitness, Aaron Wan-Bissaka missed 21 games this season in a year that Manchester United were ridden with injury problems, right? He missed 21 games. Now, historically, he's a reliable player. The season before that, he missed 3 games. The season before that, he missed 2 games. The season before that, he missed 3. Like, Aaron Wan-Bissaka historically has been reliable with injuries. It's suddenly when there's an injury illness going through the entire team that he also succumbs to it. Now, in comparison to Nazir Mazraoui missed less games this year. But I don't think that is a true kind of way to compare and analyze. I don't think that's a fair way to analyze people. Because right now, if we're looking on paper and I say to you, Wan-Bissaka 21 injuries last season, 21 games missed last season, Mazraoui 17 games, 19 games missed. So he missed 2 less. That what does that mean? What does that mean? Because I think you have to look at injury history as a kind of whole. You have to look at how has the injury history been over the course of 4 or 5 years, not just the most recent season. Now, I want to know, and this is a question to all of you guys in the chat, so please do get involved. What is the best price tag for Aaron Wan-Bissaka if you are parting ways with him? If you are selling Aaron Wan-Bissaka this year, bear in mind, Man United are listening to options. Man United are listening to offers for him because he's approaching the end of his contract. He's approaching the end of his contract. He's got obviously 1 year left. Man United are not going to renew. How much do you think Man United should sell Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Because it's at a point right now where they're willing to listen to offers up to 10 to 15, which to me is quite outrageous, because you kind of, I don't understand. Like, again, maybe this is me highly rating Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but for someone who does the defensive parts well, by the way, guys, I think that this opinion kind of divides a lot of people, because I've seen people saying that Aaron Wan-Bissaka is just a 1v1 defender. Positionally, he's not good. He doesn't know how to hold his line. He doesn't know how to track his man. All of this kind of stuff. And then I see people saying that he's one of the best 1v1 defenders in the world, and Man United need that in the defense. I've seen people even use this as an opportunity to discredit Diogo Dalot, and say that Wan-Bissaka is a better defender than Diogo Dalot. I don't think Manchester United would be going for a new fullback unless they feel like the ones that they currently have are insufficient. And what I mean is that it's not just Wan-Bissaka, but I also think Tyrell Malacia will not be ready for first team football anytime soon. Like, he's gone through 12 months since his surgery, more than that since he's last played a competitive match. He's just got back right now to being on the grass. He hasn't even started playing contact football in training sessions. So Malacia is not going to be ready anytime soon. Luke Shaw, for me, as much of a good footballer Luke Shaw is, I think Manchester United have passed the point of relying on him to be available 65 games in the season, 70 games, however many games it is that you play. I think Man United have passed that point. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is worth 20 million to a non-top top 8 side. Yeah, I think if it was roles reversed and he was at Palace still, I think they would have got look how much they managed to get for him in the first place. I think if he was still at Palace, they could have got a good deal for him. Because I know when you look at other left backs in the league, and I'm speaking specifically in the Premier League, there's a few left backs I do like. I like Ait-Nouri. I like Tyreek Mitchell at Crystal Palace. I know for a fact if anyone came sniffing around for either of them, they'd be able to get 40-50 million for them. Happy with anything over 10 to 15 million. Spider-Man is worth about 25 million. Sonny says 10 to 20 million. He's only 26, Red Scare Claire says. I think he's 30 million player easily. If Man United somehow got 30 million for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, shout out to the entire negotiation team, like deadass. Shout out to every single one of them. Now, it was reported today by ESPN that Manchester United are, of course, are encouraging offers. So now that Man United are at a point where they're saying, please, guys, like we got, like it's like a car boot sale. They're saying we got stock. Please come and buy from us. Manchester United are encouraging offers for a number of senior players to fund further transfer business this summer. Man United will consider offers for Victor Lindelof, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and Christian Eriksen, who all have 3 years left on their contract. 4 other players will be available on the market if United's valuations are met. So we already know the 3 players that are on their final year of the contract that Manchester United are willing to listen to offers to. But who are the other 4 that Manchester United will listen to offers for, but are not really on the transfer market? So they're there, but they're not there. Now, Manchester United are desperate, of course. We know they're desperate to get rid of anyone that's on the last year of their contract. They're desperate for that. Let me see. Red Scare Claire says, Mina, what would you sell Lindy for? I'll sell him for 10, 15 million, I think that's reasonable for Victor Lindelof. For me, is these players that are interesting. These are the interesting players for me, because how do Manchester United, who are willing to listen to offers, by the way, for Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, Anthony, and Jadon Sancho, and we're going to talk about Jadon Sancho because obviously we spoke about him yesterday as well. How likely do you think, out of the 4 of those that I just referenced, that Manchester United actually manage to offload any of them for what their valuation is. I mean, we're going to speak about Jadon Sancho, but Manchester United value him at 40 million. That's what they want for him. They want 40 million for him. PSG are aware of that. Dortmund are aware of that. Juve are aware of that. Everybody is pretty much aware that Manchester United want that. Anthony, however, I don't think Man United want to sell him. And this is just a theory on my side, guys. This is just a theory on my end. I don't think Man United want to sell him. I think Man United might look at the option of sending him out on loan, because this season that just passed, that we just left, he depreciated. Anthony's value depreciated because he barely showed any worth on the pitch. He got dropped at one point, barely played. Eventually scored, I think, a goal or two in the season, but he really struggled in the season. So his price tag depreciated for whatever it would have been before. Now, I think Man United might look at the option of loaning him out, similar to what they did in Jadon Sancho's situation now, minus the fact that there was a problem with the manager, but they might look to send him on loan in the hopes that he drives up his selling price. Now, United are never going to get back anything near what they paid for him. 100 million euros, that's like 86 million pounds or something. United are never going to get any of that back, or near enough to that back. At best, they might get 30 million, I think, at best. And in the hopes of sending him on loan, he might drive up his price a bit more. If, Umar Barada, Dan Ashworth, and all of them guys are the negotiation guys that we think that they are, and they're capable of doing their job. I mean, when Umar Barada was at City, he was selling Trafford for what, 20 million, 21 million, who had never played a senior game for them. So maybe it's capable. Now, I have a different opinion with Harry Maguire. I don't think Man United should sell him this season. I don't think Man United should sell him this season if Scott McTominay is sold. And the reason why I say that is if Victor Lindelof leaves, Harry Maguire is the only other recognisable centre-back at Manchester United. Now, this is obviously with the assumption that United only get one centre-back and not two, because as much as I think it's a great idea for Man United to buy two centre-backs, and actually, we can actually get to that topic as well, because I think there's one player that they might look at because of his availability, etc. I think Harry Maguire should stay as a backup option. Now, obviously, this is dependent on whether he wants to be a backup option, etc. But he's also got an option on his contract. So if Manchester United don't get the opportunity to sell him this summer, they could keep him for squad depth and trigger that option and sell him next summer. Of course, next summer, that means they're forced to sell him. I feel like they're forced to sell him. This summer, however, if Victor Lindelof leaves, you're telling me Yoro Martinez, Johnny Evans, and one other centre-back that Manchester United could possibly bring in is the right number of depth at centre-back position? No, because last year they had 6 centre-backs. They had nearly 6 centre-backs and struggled. And they really struggled because everybody was getting injury issues. I don't think, like I said, I don't think they will give him a new contract. He's got a 1-year option on his contract. And I look at him and Scott McTominay, and I think, really, who's the most likely to be sold? Who's the most likely to be sold this summer between Maguire and Scott McTominay? It's Scott McTominay. Why? Because Scott McTominay drove up the valuation of his price last summer. He was available all season, or throughout majority of this season, double-digit goals in this new role that Erik ten Hag had him playing as this box-crashing midfielder. He drove up his value. And whereas Harry Maguire, in the latter stages of the season, missed quite a bit of the games because he was out injured. Didn't go to the Euros, wasn't available because of injury, and now is reported to training, to pre-season, with an injury. So I think out of the two of them, and also, by the way, I think Scott McTominay being sold is 100% profit from an FFP perspective. So when you look at like the grand scheme of things, I think all roads lead, and I know some people might, I know for a fact the chat's not agreeing with me right now, but I think all roads lead to keeping Harry Maguire and trying to sell Scott McTominay. 100% profit from an FFP perspective, more likely to have driven up his valuation price because of the season that he had last year, and is probably more easier to replace in midfield. You just promote Toby Collier. You promote a midfielder. So I think that's more likely, especially because Man United sold Campbell Waller. Of course, he went because he knew that he was like fifth in the pecking order, or he was the last option in the pecking order. So I understand why he wanted to leave at a young stage in his career. But because they sold him, I don't see another academy kid getting promoted in the way that Camberwala got promoted last season into the first team so quickly. So for me, that makes sense to keep Maguire. Fillmore says, for me, Maguire and McTominay have to leave. They are both a hindrance to the style of football we want to play. Same goes for Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Lindelof. Fillmore saying all of them can go. Mr. K says, Mina has been a big fan of Harry Maguire. And not that I've been a big fan of Harry Maguire. I just think it makes sense to keep him. Like, by the way, guys, 12, 18 months ago, I would have been against this. We definitely need to bring in another centre-back. I'm tired of being one injury away from the return of Maguire and McTominay. Facts. Paul says Luke Shaw is a centre-back option. I think Luke Shaw is a centre-back option, but again, contingency plan, guys. United have to have a contingency plan this year because Luke Shaw has shown time and time again that he struggles with his fitness. He struggles with these injury problems. And I'm not saying Man United's injury problems last season is completely gone because we don't know if they might still experience the full number of injuries that they experienced again. Lamino says, hey Mina, don't we have Johnny Evans to play that role? I don't think Johnny Evans and Maguire's role is the same. I don't think Johnny Evans and Maguire, I think Johnny Evans is there not to play, but he's there for that professionalism that he brings in the dressing room, the experience, etc. I think Maguire was more likely to play than Johnny Evans. Jay says Mina is on nonsense form today. Big up to Steffi Jugs in the chat as well. Sadiq says both Anthony and Maguire should be kept for squad department. Okay, that's an interesting one. Now, guys, don't shoot me. Don't shoot the messenger. I just got a question for you guys when we're talking about centre backs and we're talking about depth. We ain't talking about starting centre backs here. We're talking about depth in the squad. Would you or would you not take Trevor Chalobah? Yes or no in the chat. Chelsea player. He's having issues right now. I wouldn't say he's having issues with Chelsea's regime, but he's been told to stay home from their preseason tour in America. I think they're trying to offload him. I think it's very clear actually that they don't have future for him at the team. They have obviously a lot of centre backs. They have so many centre backs. Would you take Trevor Chalobah for depth? And by the way, guys, remember when we were linked to him early in the transfer window? I have a strong feeling this will actually maybe happen, especially because United missed out on Tosin Adarabioyo. I think if they bring in a De Ligt or they bring in a Jared Brentford, which is very unlikely, I think this will not happen. But if United are in a situation where they don't have many more options to sign someone cheap, affordable, might not be a full-fledged starter, but is squad depth. If they sell Victor Lindelof, they need to bring in another defender. Premier League experience, first team experience. Seems like a humble guy too, and is being pushed out from Chelsea, which I kind of feel bad for him. I kind of feel bad for him in the way that he's getting pushed out. And he's currently assessing his options. He's been linked to United, by the way, in the past. Let me see what you last said. I can't answer. I actively discriminate against Chelsea players. Fair enough. 10 to 15 million, yes, nothing more. I'll give them a sell-on clause as well. Chelsea told this kid to stay in England because they want to sell him. Yeah, they told him you can't even come on pre-season. You're not even allowed to come. Mr. Gay says, I'll take him 100%. He's an upgrade on Maguire and Lindelof. We should go get him. He's not an upgrade on Maguire, I'll be very honest. But he is an upgrade on Victor Lindelof. I do think so. No disrespect to Victor Lindelof before Blue Dabba Dee Dabba Die comes out of the woodwork. No disrespect to Victor Lindelof. I just think Victor Lindelof has passed, that stage of his career of senior competitive football at Manchester United. Like Victor Lindelof, when he was at United, he was great. He was a good asset in that era of Lindelof and Maguire, but the ship has sailed. Redwan says not a star. Yeah, I don't think he's a star. I don't think he's a starter at all. Lamino says no. Marzuk says Chalobah and Euro. No. Let's get this clear. Let's get this clear. The idea of Trevor Chalobah, guys. The idea of Trevor Chalobah is for depth. That's it. That's it. Ahmed says, "Are you okay today, Mina? Keep Maguire. Sign that guy." No. I'm not. I'm not saying sign him. I'm saying, would you not be happy for depth? Because let's be honest, Manchester United have to sign a centre back or two, right? Because everybody is saying to me right now in the chat, Maguire's going, Victor Lindelof has to go, right? So if that's two centre backs gone, are you telling me you're okay with the idea of Lenny Yoro, Lisandro Martinez, Johnny Evans, and maybe a De Ligt? United need 5 centre backs for depth purposes. I'm talking purely depth. Yeah, we remember, guys, a team is not the starting 11. It's a 22, 23 man squad. We need the depth. Mina, I must speak. Maguire versus Lindelof. We can't be comparing Poo with Poo. We are better than that. King says, I don't want him. Should have just kept Campbell Walla. I hear it. I think Campbell Walla wanted to leave, though, when he realised that he wasn't going to get the opportunity to stay, to play regular football. And I totally understand it. I actually respect Campbell Walla for leaving because he had to bet on himself. He had to bet on himself, and he made that decision to go because he was going to be below in the pecking order. Chalobah is clear of Maguire and Lindy. He only has a few bozo moments. He's a good squad player. I hear that. Mina, move, man. What is this Maguire hype? Sorry, guys. Right. I will stop that. I will stop talking about Harry Maguire. I'll stop talking about Harry Maguire. And in that instance, let's talk about this guy here. Mr. Jadon Sancho, Manchester United's very own. Reported by ESPN earlier, just before I went live, by the way. Reported by ESPN, Manchester United have been asking for around £40 million for Jadon Sancho. Sancho was offered to PSG. Now, this is why I say wording is always a good thing to look at, because they're saying he was offered, and this coming from ESPN. But yesterday's report said that PSG approached him to pitch the project. Now, again, it's neither here or there, but who's offering? Is it his agent that's offering him to PSG? Now, it's gone on to say that PSG are considering him, and the hierarchy in the club thinks that he suits the profile of player they are looking for following Kylian Mbappe's departure. Jadon Sancho is really liked by Luis Enrique, who was very impressed with his performances against PSG in the Champions League. PSG are interested, it's confirmed, but there have been no formal approach yet. But they have explored the possibility of the conditions of a deal with Jadon Sancho, i.e. they've pitched a project to him, spoken to him and his team maybe, and maybe even, talked about contract stuff. It's not just him. Juve obviously are interested in him. Dortmund are interested in him. And this is interesting for me because, guys, Xavi Simons reported earlier today, RB Leipzig are getting closer to finalizing a deal with PSG to get Xavi Simons back on a loan. On top of that, PSG could lose out on Desire Doué because Desire Doué, another bid, 55 million bid has come in from Bayern Munich. That's their second bid. So clearly they want Desire Doué. So these lot are missing out on the targets that they were looking at. I think Desire Doué was one of the main targets that they wanted for the left-hand side. The Victor Osimhen deal, as of right now, is not going ahead because I think what Fabrizio reported yesterday was PSG don't want to pay the release clause, and Napoli are not letting him leave without the release clause. João Neves is looking likely to go to PSG, and it's not going to end there. Jadon Sancho to PSG could possibly happen. Is that a deal that you guys would be happy with? Because I've seen different kind of suggestions. I've seen different kind of suggestions about the price tag. I've seen people discussing the price tag online, on YouTube, TikTok. Everywhere I go, I'm seeing people talking about the Jadon Sancho price tags. I've seen people saying 60 million. I've seen people saying 30 million and he can go. I've seen people saying, let's do a straight swap for Ugarte. I don't know how people could actually say, let's do a straight swap for Ugarte for Jadon Sancho. No disrespect to Ugarte, by the way. But I just think if one club is clearly desperate to get rid of a player, and I'm talking about, and I know I might be contradicting myself here, but it looks like PSG are desperate to get rid of Ugarte. Why? Because they need to bring in João Neves. They need to clear up and make some space for other players in the team. Man United look like they're in a situation where Jadon Sancho, they're happy to keep him and they're happy to sell him, right? All is good at home right now. It's a happy home. It's a happy home right now. If Man United sell Jadon Sancho, do you think that they will even replace him? And that's another question as well. Do you think that they would replace him? Because what other wingers were Manchester United ever really interested in? The only other winger that I heard United interested in this summer was Elise. I spoke about the idea of Desire Doué before during the transfer window. Now, if United were to go and get Frimpong, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. Because I'm not going to lie, guys. I'm going to be dead honest with you. With Amad Diallo's contract situation, I think he deserves a fair shot at the right-hand side. Jadon Sancho wants the left-hand side. Marcus Rashford doesn't look like he's going anywhere anytime soon. Let me see what you lot are saying. We need Jadon, says Jay. Does United need Jadon Sancho? Let's be honest. Let's be honest, because they've done fair without him for the last 3 years. I want Sancho to stay, says Mr. K. I just want Sancho to... Sometimes I'm just tired of this saga. Am I the only one that's sometimes tired of the Jadon Sancho saga? I was happy when him and Erik ten Hag kind of sorted their beef out. It was nice. That was finally under the carpet. And then the whole whirlwind of transfer news. Then, obviously, he wasn't part of the matchday squad for the first preseason game, was there for the second one, was the topic of discussion after the Rangers game because he had a good performance and he deserved to be a topic of conversation. But really and truly, I just want him to either play football at United and be part of the first team or just be sold. That's it. If PSG get Desire Doué, what happens? They probably won't go for Sancho. They're not getting Desire Doué. I do not think they are getting Desire Doué. I think Desire Doué is going to Bayern Munich. I mean, the fact that Rennes is able to hold out for 50 to 60 million for him is saying a lot. That's kind of saying a lot. PSG taxed 65 million for Sancho. Wallahi, PSG is never paying 65 million for Jadon Sancho. Astaghfirullah. I shouldn't say wallahi, yeah, but they're not. They're not doing that. Sancho is a UCL finalist, 55 million minimum. Thank you, PSG. The thing is, if they've got 70 million for João Neves, and they've clearly got they brought Kolo Muani last year for 72 million. They clearly got money to throw around. They brought Gonzalo Ramos for 60. They went and brought Vitina, I think it was for 40. They brought Ugarte for 50. The PSG have money to throw around, yeah? They got money to throw around. And especially now that they've probably saved a couple of millions after losing Kylian Mbappe and they're not paying his salary. 55 is, I think, too high. 40 to 50, I think, is reasonable. Jadon Sancho, 40 million swap deal with Ugarte. No, not a swap deal. I don't think it's a swap deal. Because I wouldn't say that him and Ugarte are at the same valuation. I think, and we're going to come to this when we talk about the midfield options for Manchester United, I think PSG are holding out for the Ugarte deal just to recoup some money that they spent on him. I think they want to actually recoup all the money they spent on him. I actually think that. I think they want the 50 million that they paid for him. It don't work like that. Sadiq says, don't sell Sancho. He will come good this season. The thing is, I've been saying season in, season out, this is Sancho's year. This is Sancho's year. And I went on a rant yesterday about how I felt, the year that he came was the wrong year that he came. And that is the beginning of the downfall at his time at Manchester United. And this is going to be his 4th season at Manchester United, guys. This is going to be his 4th season at Manchester United. His first season was the Oli getting sacked, Bragnick coming in season. Second season, Erik ten Hag's first season. Third season was last year where he was exiled from the first team. This is now his 4th season at Manchester United. Are we waiting on a miracle at this point for his time at Manchester United? I don't understand. Ahmed says 50 million pounds. They can have him. Red Scareclaw says I'll help him pack 40 million. That's even less. That's even less. Fillmore says in our financial situation, 40 million is ideal. We still owe about 30 from his transfer fee. Then you have to include the 16 million per season he's on in wages. Yeah, from an FFP perspective, I think if they get 40 million, and that's why I think they've priced him at 40 million. I think it's because that works for them from an FFP perspective. It will net off whatever they owe, and it will also net off his salary, and essentially it will make it in the financial year a nil. That makes sense. United are never getting the 70, 80 million that they spent on him, and I think everybody kind of knows that too. PSG has Barcola. That's true. They got Barcola is really the only out and out, I would say, winger that they got. That's the only left winger that they got, right? If I'm not wrong, that's the only left winger that they do have. But on the topic of midfielders, because I think it's only right. I mean, we spent a good 40 minutes talking about everything else. The whole purpose of the stream was actually to compare midfielders, because you see that the midfield market for Manchester United is where the conversations are at now. But before we get on to that, make sure let's see where we are on likes. Make sure you hit the like button if you've just come through. You know the rules. You come in, you wipe your feet, you say hi to everyone in the chat, and you hit the like button. If you want to join the Minions gang, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content, and of course you get to support the growth of the channel. Tomorrow, God willing, we will have a member-only stream, member-only Q&A, and we're going to play some games. We're going to play footy bingo, do some Q&A, all of that kind of stuff for members only. So make sure you turn on your post notification if you are a member. If you want to enjoy the content here on the channel and you want to support the channel in other ways, you can. If you've got questions, if you've got comments and you want to support the channel, you can send in super chats with your thoughts, with your comments, with your questions, or just to show a bit of appreciation. And if you want to do something that's simple, guys, you can just hit the like button. That is the most simplest thing to do. But listen, let's get into it and let's talk midfield, because that, I think, is the base of most of this content today. Manchester United have been linked to a heap of midfielders, and Ridwan just put it here from Damasio, reportedly for Fofana. There is the inclusion of Manchester United and Atletico now. Monaco is now asking for 35 million. Other options are also being evaluated, including Rabiot. It's funny that now Manchester United have come into the talks for Yusuf Fofana. That price tag has changed. It was 20 million euros, which is about 16 million pounds, when AC Milan were the front runners to sign him, guys. It was 20 million euros, and now they've just put 15 on top of that. But we're going to still talk about it, and we're still going to kind of dissect who would be the better option for Manchester United. Now, you lot already know I like all three of these. I like all three of these midfield options, but I think they are all different in their own ways. I feel like they are all different in their own ways. I like Yusuf Fofana. I like Ugarte. I like Zubamendi. Now, you know me, guys. You lot know me. I love a good chart. I love a good graphic, guys. You lot know I love a good graphic. So this is what we're going to look at first. It's a comparative of three of these players last season. Fofana is in pink, Ugarte in blue, and Zubamendi in yellow. Now, all roughly, I would say, around the same age, mid-20s. All around. I can't believe they're younger than me. That's crazy. They're all in their mid-20s, right? I think Ugarte made that move to PSG, hoping that that was going to be that standout kind of club that he could join and kind of go a bit like that. But Fabrizio also said Monaco rejected 30 million from Forest. That was last season. I guess now Monaco have to sell him because I think they had like a gentleman's agreement to sell him this season, especially because he's in his last year of his contract. And it's funny because Forest then went on to buy Ibrahim Sangare from PSV for around the same price. And they are not I wouldn't say they're the same type of player profile. But for me, actually, before I say who my preference is, let's kind of just look at this. When you look at the kind of players that Manchester United are going for in midfield, I think the biggest difference is the profiles. Does Manchester United need someone to control the game from deep? Does Manchester United need a destroyer? Do Manchester United want a box-to-box? Are they going to play a double pivot? Are Manchester United going to play a single pivot? Are they going to play like a lone six kind of thing? Do they want someone that is going to progress the ball? Do they want someone that's going to close the passing lanes? Do they want someone that's going to protect the back four and pick the ball up and basically connect the back line and the front line? I think that's the most important thing. I think when you look at what Casemiro was predominantly or was meant to be this season, it was kind of like that destroyer role. I think it was that destroyer role. Last season, he was meant to kind of be the link between the midfield and the back line and the midfield and the front line. I think what Manchester United have in Kobbie Mainoo ticks some of those boxes. And I think we've seen it multiple times throughout the season, but we also saw it during the Euros for England as well, with Kobbie Mainoo playing next to Declan Rice. Now, out of the three of these, you can see already who's got the best percentage of their duels won. You can see it. Zubimendi. And I've seen people, by the way, talk about Zubimendi like he's some measly, like he's some meaty player. People talk about him like he's some meaty player. This guy's a Euro winner. This guy came on in the final and just slotted into the midfield as if Rodri never came off. But anyway, when it comes to duels, Zubimendi wins more of his duels. And we're going to talk about Zubimendi in a bit of detail as well, because I have some interesting data that I've kind of come across. Fofana is second with 77%, and then Ugarte in the 50s with that. And then you look at more so the defense, and this is where it's interesting. You look at the defensive actions, if you want to call it that, defensive actions. Again, Ugarte leads in those kind of numbers. Now, here is what I think sticks out for me. Does Manchester United want someone that's good on the ball? Does Manchester United want someone that's good on the ball, that can defend, that can get around the pitch, that is mobile? Because eye test and this tells you it's Fofana, right? If we're looking at just, you know me, guys, I told you, like, I love data. I'm a data girl, yeah? Progressive carries, Fofana exceeds that in comparison to the rest of them. He beats them furthermore. Forward passes exceeds that in comparison to, you know, his counterparts here. The percentage of forward passes, now that is where Zubimendi comes in. But the key passes, bro, Fofana shits on them. Excuse my language, sorry. Fofana shits on them. And progressive passes, Fofana shits on them. Now let's look at this as just the graphic. You will look at this and think, the pink person looks interesting, but it's depending on what you're looking at, right? It's always depending on what you're looking at. And that's why I said that Man United kind of have to identify what kind of partner they want for Kobbie Mainoo. Now, I look at Kobbie Mainoo and I think of the idea of having Fofana next to him. Fofana at Monaco was playing in a double pivot next to Mohamed Kamara, who was more so the defensive guy. Fofana's role was more so connecting the back line and the front line, going right to left, getting forward, passing the ball. He's a good passer. He's a very good passer. He's strong, he's physical, but the way that he reads the game as well is equally, I would say, as important. Zubimendi, however, does the simple things easily as well. I don't know. I'm kind of torn. When I kind of look at, you know, the three of these. Now, I don't know if there's anything worth kind of digging into detail with Zubimendi, because he's got a 50 million release clause. Is Manchester United really going to go and pay that? Is Manchester United really going to pay his 50 million release clause? And I think early in the transfer window, he was linked to a move at Arsenal, if I'm not wrong. He was linked to a move at Arsenal early in the transfer window. Now, Fofana, last year of his contract, what did Sir Jim Ratcliffe say, or what was rumoured to be said about Manchester United this summer transfer window? They were going to target players that were in their last 12 months in their contract. That's what they were going to do. Pyramid scheme. I says, I don't know who is who on that chart, nice chart of minutes, but blue and yellow ain't it. Who's who on the chart? Yellow is Zubimendi, blue is Ugarte, and pink is Yusuf Fofana. And that's why I said, if you look at this, Fofana beats them. But football is not just about stats. It's not just about data. It's equally about the eye test. But I think the biggest question is, out of the players that Manchester United are linked to, what sort of partner does Manchester United want for Kobbie Mainoo? And what kind of players, and that's why I say that's the confusing part, because I feel like when United are linked to a centre-back, it's kind of clear what they want. A right-sided centre-back, that's right-footed. A left-sided centre-back, that's left-footed. Like, it's pretty clear what they want. But with the midfield, I'm very curious to know what the discussions are, because it was reported earlier today as well, I think, by Mopetiz, saying that a lot of people at Man United are not convinced. Let me get up the exact quote. But it's basically saying not a lot of people are convinced by Ugarte at Manchester United, which is maybe why he's holding up any sort of move being made for him. In my opinion, I think simple is better. We already have an industrious Bruno. We have Kobe, who is progressive. We need balance. We need someone to just sit at the base and recycle the ball. I agree. And that's why I always said, I think I did a video months back, like 6 months ago, saying that Man United need a partner for Kobe that is purely just there to do the dirty work. And that's why I look at these links. I don't know about the Zubimendi link, and that's not me saying I don't like him, because I think Zubimendi is a good player as well. But I don't know if there's anything of value in it. Is United really going to pay his 50 million release clause? Are they really going to do that? Is that really this profile? And this is why I also say the profile of players that United are linked to is different. So it's making me think, what is it that Manchester United want in a midfield right now? I mean, I'm not gonna lie, guys. The idea of Fofana is nice, and you lot know me, man. I've been pro Fofana for ages. For ages, I've been saying United should get Fofana, but it's also making me wonder, where does Sufyan Amrabat stand? Because he's gone back to Fiorentina, but Manchester United and Fiorentina are still in contact about him. Do you think that they want a lower price for him? And I'm talking like 15 million. I'm talking about 15. I think they probably want to get Amrabat for a cheap price, like 15 million, because Fiorentina have to also sell him this summer. Because he's coming up to the end, or the final year of his contract. And right now, the only real tangible interest is coming from Manchester United so far. Obviously, I don't want to write him off and say nobody's interested in him. Now, reported as well earlier today by Dan Sheldon at The Athletic. Like I said, The Athletic do a transfer sheet every Tuesday that kind of details all the transfer news for each team. Manchester United have had a long-standing interest in Adrien Rabiot, but nothing is advanced regarding a potential deal. Zubimendi is on United's list of options, as well as Sufyan Amrabat. And this is what, again, like I said, is United hoping to sign two? Is United hoping to sign two midfielders? So one of these two, and then an Amrabat or Rabiot. Because that would make sense, right? That would make sense. I saw, by the way, did I put it up here? I'm sure. I saw news about that. Is it the Colombian player that Manchester United are linked to? Was he Colombian? I don't know where it's gone. I had it open here somewhere. Here it is. This guy here. This guy here, yeah? And let's not act like we all knew who he was before a couple of days ago. Richard Rios. Palmeiras will not consider any bids that do not match his £75 million release clause. Goodbye. Bye. United can move on from that. That's not going to happen. I saw price tags a couple of days ago about 17 million. And I thought, okay, maybe I might put some research into him and like, look into him a bit more. But now I'm seeing a 75 million release clause. That's not it. That is not it. So out of United's what? How many midfielders is this that United have been linked to? 6 or 5? That's 5. These 3 plus Adrien Rabiot, and then who's the other guy? Sufyan Amrabat. I think Manchester United's target or hope is to end up with 2 out of those 5. One who's the starter, one who's for depth. If Scott McTominay leaves, if they can get Casemiro off the market, if they can somehow get Casemiro out of here, it's very unlikely. Now, actually, on the topic of Casemiro, seeing as we're talking about midfielders, how do you guys feel about Casemiro staying at Manchester United? Because I remember last season, or the end of last season, right? Or even not even just the end of last season, during the season, every time we spoke about transfer stuff, we kind of spoke about it with the forecast that Casemiro will leave in the summer. So when we spoke about the transfer window and we spoke about Manchester United's budget, we always spoke about the idea of Manchester United 100% selling Casemiro for something and being able to reinvest that money into the team. But now it looks like Casemiro is not going anywhere. He's not go. He looks like he's staying at the club. Now again, what his role will be, I don't know. I don't know what his role will be. Will he be one of those players like Varane, like De Gea, etc., that runs their contract down? Maybe. He might do that. And I think that might also hinder Manchester United's potential opportunities to buy two midfielders. I think, the fact that the reports coming out today that from ESPN that Manchester United are willing to listen to offers for Scott McTominay, Harry Maguire, Toney, Sancho. No Casemiro in that list. The fact that Manchester United notified the Saudi Pro League last week, or a couple of days ago actually, that they have no intention of selling Casemiro as well as Jadon Sancho and Bruno Fernandes to the Saudi League. I think all avenues of selling Casemiro might have closed off. I actually think it might have closed off. And I don't know if United do offload Scott McTominay and they bring in Ugarte. Who's going to start between Ugarte and Casemiro? Because Casemiro probably expects to start every game, right? Casemiro probably expects to start every game. He probably thinks that he's still at that level of playing consistent 90s consistently and regularly. Also, can I just say, I think maybe their inability to sell Casemiro this summer transfer window has hindered maybe how they move in the window financially. Because, like I said, when we were talking about selling Casemiro a couple of months ago, I saw people saying that United can get 60 million from the Saudi League. And I told everyone, I think I should run the streams back. Because I told everyone the Saudi League might spend money like they literally just shit it out every day. But they ain't spending 60 million on Casemiro. Absolutely no way. But then, can I just say, on the flip side, Moussa Diaby. Aston Villa just bought Moussa Diaby, last year? For 50 million. And sold him for 60 million. That's what you call a flip. They literally flipped Moussa Diaby, but they flipped him. They brought him for 50, sold him to 60 to the Saudi League. And that's what happens when I think the Saudi League they have a motive. What is the motive for a player like Moussa Diaby? For them to go for a player like Moussa Diaby? Because I'm not going to lie, I was shocked. I was shocked that he went. Because I think he's good. I think he should be playing in Europe. Benzema wants to build a French core at Al Ittihad. So the keys are in Benzema's hand. Benzema has requested specific players. He's requested Moussa Diaby. He's requested Hussam Aouar. That's why I said to you guys a couple of weeks ago, Casemiro is not going to Al Ittihad because they want Benzema has the keys and he wants a French core at the team. So what is the Saudi Pro League's, I guess, motivation to buy a player like Moussa Diaby? Because to keep Benzema happy. Benzema's not there requesting Casemiro. Cristiano Ronaldo is not at Al Nassr asking for Casemiro. So they're not going to come and spend 60 million on him. Benzema is the manager, no, but he's got the keys in his hand. He's got the keys. Literally, I was reading an article the other day about the fact that they want to keep him happy. They want to keep Karim Benzema happy. And by doing that, they're literally buying the players that he's asked them to buy. It's his friends. It's people that he's friends with. Moussa Diaby, French, Muslim. Hussam Aouar, French, Arab, Muslim. Karim Benzema, French, Arab, Muslim. North African. So they're building that French core to support Benzema. I guess with a lot of players with Manchester United, they're not selling in the rate that other teams are selling so far. Obviously, Man United are selling better than what they've done historically. But the historic way of Manchester United's transfer windows should not be the benchmark because they were poor. We should look at how other clubs are able to offload players, whether it's to the Saudi League, whether it's to the MLS, etc., etc. Even Qatar. Right now, Qatari football right now, they're not at the same kind of rate, I would say, as Saudi Arabia, where they've got that heavy investment. But you see one or two players going to play in Qatar. You even see one or two players going to the Saudi League, and they're not going to play for the top 4 teams. who is it? I think it's Aubameyang just went to Al Qasida. So, and that's a average team in the Saudi league. Let me see what you lot are saying in the chat. Ibrahim says, it's weird how we think his first season was a fluke because a player of his quality is not allowed to have a bad run, especially being part of a United setup that was falling apart last season. Do you think that is people don't allow him to have a bad run of game? Because I don't think it was a bad run of game. I don't think I thought he was just in poor form. There was 1-2 games where he stepped up, and I think when he played like centre back, for example, there was 1 or 2 games where he stepped up. But can I just say that I think his players like Casemiro or just others should accept, especially at an age time, they should accept for what they say, time. When time catches up with you, when age catches up with you, there's no harm in that, right? Christian Eriksen, people criticize Christian Eriksen because he's not the player that he once was. And Christian Eriksen is a player, I think, similar to Casemiro, where the first year they came in, great. Everybody was so happy and enthusiastic to have them. And then it's like next season, everybody switched up on them. I think that they were short-term solutions to the long-term problems that Manchester United had, right? And also, I think Christian Eriksen doesn't get that much criticism because obviously he came on a free. I hope that makes sense. But just quickly before we wrap that up on the midfield topic, guys, who are you taking? Just say it in the chat. Who are you taking as the starting midfielder in the Premier League for Manchester United this season? Are you taking Ugarte, who comes with a 50 million-ish release clause? Are you taking Zubimendi, who comes with a 50 million euro release clause? Are you taking Yusuf Fofana, who's rumoured to be about 35 million, but I think United could get him for less than that? Or are you taking Adrian Rabiot on a free? Are you taking who else? Are you taking Sufyan Amrabat back? Or are we going into this season with the same midfield as last season? The Kobbie Mainoo, the Amrabat pivot, and Bruno in the 10. Which one do you think United are likely to end up with? Because I think as the core, how long have we got? Is it the America preseason starts? I guess they're flying out this week. First game is on the weekend. João Neves, bro, Shane, bro. João Neves is going to PSG. Like, we have to accept that ship ain't even docked at Manchester. That ship is gone. It's not happening. I'll be very shocked, guys. Very, very shocked if Manchester United somehow got João Neves. And that's why also that goes back to the topic of different profiles. Every midfielder that I realized all the midfielders that people tend to want are different profiles. What exactly do we want for Manchester United right now? Do you just want a destroyer? Do you want a ball controller, a ball handler, like a point guard, if you want to put it in basketball terms? Do you want someone that's going to play in a double pivot, sorry? Do you want someone that's going to play in a lone six? Now, out of these three, depending on what I'm looking for, if I want a double pivot, right? And I don't know if Ten Hag's actually going to play with a double pivot, but if I want a double pivot, I'm taking Fofana. Now, the only reason why I don't know, and I've watched Fofana a lot at Monaco, guys. I've watched him for the last 2 or so years. I don't know how he would do in a lone six. I don't know. Even for France, in the rare moments that he played for France at the World Cup, he played more advanced. Kante was the deeper midfielder. Tchouaméni was the deeper midfielder. He played a bit more forward. So I don't know. If it's a double pivot, I could see Fofana. If it's a lone six, I can't see Fofana. Then we look at Ugarte. I think he could play in the lone six. Is it likely that United could get a deal done for him? I'm not too sure. I feel like PSG right now, they feel like the ball is in their court. And PSG, by the way, I've been watching. There's some like PSG content creators, bro. They're losing their mind because PSG are moving so slow in the transfer window. After losing Mbappe, PSG fans are not happy with how slow PSG are moving. Let me see what you lot are saying. I'll take Zubimendi. I think a lot of people want Zubimendi. I was speaking to KG about it as well, and he was saying that he wants Ugarte. And similar reasons as to why I said I wouldn't mind Ugarte. The thing is, out of all three of them, I wouldn't mind. I just need to know what is it United want in midfield, because these are all different profiles, and that is where like the worry kind of comes for me. Just a little update, and don't lie, guys. Do not lie and say you guys knew who this kid was, yeah, before the news came out. Don't say that you lot knew who he was, yeah. Don't say you lot knew who he was. But Arsenal have confirmed that Chido Obi Martin is set to leave Arsenal on a free. Hasn't signed a scholarship deal with Arsenal, visited Carrington last week, and has interest as well from other top European clubs. Now, until the news came out, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't know about him. I had to speak to some people who I know follow Arsenal Academy, touted as one of the best strikers right now in English young talent football, in the English football. So he's not English, but in English academies, they're touting him as one of the best strikers, right? One of the best strikers. If Manchester United pull that off, that would be serious. That would be serious because of his ceiling and how high he's rated. And last but not least, again, like I said, mentioned earlier today, in the Athletics article about Manchester United, they are looking and exploring the idea. There is scope. Let's use the right term. There is scope for adding another striker before the window closes. Now, I think that is also dependent on price tag. I think that's also dependent on if they get their other deals over the line. I'm talking about the midfield. I'm talking about the centre back. I'm talking about the fullback. I think then they might look at bringing in a striker as a third choice. Not as a third choice, sorry. Bringing in a striker that is a different profile of strikers in comparison to what United have already in Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee. Two names that have been discussed internally. Again, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, nah. And Ivan Toney. Like, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, Ivan Toney is a weird one because Brentford are not pressured to sell him. Brentford are not feeling like they have to sell him right now. They don't feel like they have to sell him. Even though he's available on a free next summer, I think they might actually be happy to lose him on a free. I think they might be happy if they don't get the 60 million that they're asking for, which I don't think they're going to get. Personally, I don't think they're getting that 60 million. Ivan Toney reportedly has told his camp, and this is from news a couple of weeks ago, that he wants to join Manchester United. Again, that's just speculation. I think I don't think he's going to do a Kane or one of them kind of stuff, or an Amrabat where he doesn't report for preseason and he's trying to force a move away from Brentford. I think he's approaching a point in his career where he wants to play competitively and not just for a mid-table team. No disrespect to Brentford at all, by the way. It's one to keep an eye on. It's definitely one to keep an eye on because I've said Man United have to get a third striker. I kind of entertained the idea of Fulkrug just because I thought for depth, for someone who won't play consistently. If Ivan Toney comes, I would say Ivan Toney is the better striker, but you have to think about the long-term plan. I think you have to think about the long-term plan. Would you want Ivan Toney if it meant we missed out on midfielders? No. Because United have been needing to fill that midfield role for the best part of 10 years since Carrick has left. They brought Pogba, and then it never really changed anything because United still struggled in midfield because they misprofiled Pogba and played him in the wrong places. Then they've literally not replaced Carrick since Carrick left. So I think United have to address that midfield situation this summer. It has to be done this summer. You can revisit the striker market next year. I mean, if Ivan Toney is available on a free, Jonathan David might be flipping available on a free because West Ham don't want to pay his agents commissions. So I think that option might still be there. I think that option might still be there. Big up to everyone. Listen, guys, be sure to hit the like button and be sure to subscribe. How many likes we're on? We're 20 away from 100. So if you haven't hit the like button on your way out, please do. It really helps with the algorithm to get the content out there. If you are watching this back, please hit the like button as well. If you want to join the members gang, the minions gang, as we like to call it, you can. It's the pinned comment in the chat. You get your badges, you get your emojis, you get your custom member content. Of course, you get to support the growth of the channel. We've got a members only live stream tomorrow. Tomorrow, guys, turn on your post notifications if you are a member. We're going to have a Q&A. We're going to talk everything football. And obviously, if we're doing a Q&A, guys, please be respectful with your questions. And we're going to play footy bingo. We might play football pointless. It's a game that I enjoy playing all the time. I see it on TikTok all the time. We're going to play some football games as well. So make sure you turn on your post notifications. So when I go live with the members only stream, you'll get notified. We'll be back as well tomorrow. As always, we're here to talk about Manchester United news every single day. If there is any breaking news between then and now, I will be live. You don't know you can rely on me to be live. Big up to everyone that helped me get to 5K. Listen, hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. If there's no news, I will chat to you guys all tomorrow. Hit the like button on your way out, and I am out of here. Peace.